The Arizona Cardinals have announced the official coordinators for year one of Mike LaFleur. The harsh reality of Nick Rallis' return, the Cards coaching staff, Johnny Venerable.
Yeah, Mike Garafolo is going to join us today to talk about how the Rallis hiring went down, where they declined, where they denied, and of course, we're going to talk about Kyler Murray and Malik Willis. Hit that like button. PHNX Cardinals starts now. Hey, welcome in. Live from Studio K, presented by our friends at Circle K. It's the PHNX Cardinals podcast, your premier, #1 in the world, Arizona Cardinal podcast. Like and subscribe. Leave us a 5-star wherever you get your programming. I'm Johnny Venerable. He is Brack. Noah Man in some foreign location behind the Mac. He is back today. We found sweet Noah. Bo, how we living?
We're living well. So is the chat. What's up, Derek Quimby, Amadeus, Aaliyah? How about Jacob, Jedi Master Cardinal? Are you really a Jedi? Johnny's going to test you. How about G. Willikers, Mike D, Rudy, our guy Rudy? How about Naheem? What's going on? Andy, Tank for Manning, Schaff, our guy Schaff, Voss, Louis, MF. Is that the correct pronunciation? Ooh. I think so. So many great people I see in the chat already, firing it up. Drop a like, as Johnny asked for, and also realize that this episode of PHNX Cardinals is brought to you by our friends over at Bet365. It's never ordinary when you've got this beautiful app on your phone or you're going to the desktop version. Download it today. Use the promo code when you sign up, PHNX365, and when you do, all you have to do is deposit $10, bet $5, you get $200 in bonus bets. Win or lose, Johnny.
Hit that like button for your boys. I haven't seen my family in weeks. We're doing averaging 2 or 3 shows per day now with this little fanboy podcast. But in all seriousness, big thanks to everybody who tuned in last night for the near 90-minute stream that happened almost 10 p.m. here Arizona time, as this team made, depending on who you ask, information available about their coaching staff. We had at least three updates last night, of course, headlined by the news of Nick Rallis' return, which was, as you will, throughout the course of
the Arizona Cardinals the last couple of years. So,
sorry about that. We're all a little tired from yesterday. Apologies. So here's where we're at. We're going to talk to Mike Garafolo, and he's going to give us the skinny.
He's trying to talk already.
Right. He's excited. Mike, calm down, Mike. This is where I'm at with this whole thing, is that I could not believe, because when you get Mike LaFleur hired, he's going to come into the room and he's going to pitch you his staff and what he wants to do and how he wants to build it, right? And I was under the impression they'll get it if they don't want Nick, because I thought Nick was an option.
Yeah.
Until it looked like it didn't. I'm like, well, they'll hire somebody else. They'll get somebody else to come in here, and a lot of it is predicated on, I think, why he got the job is the vision that he had. And I think we're kind of seeing that through on the offensive side. He's making some solid hires on that side of the ball. But the defensive coordinator hire was always going to be the most legitimate microscope hire that he could make, because it's not his side of the ball. And I was wrong on Twitter earlier today, because we've talked to somebody close to the situation. Here's what this podcast is willing to tell you, and we're not going to name names. We know Gus Bradley told them no in favor of going with Robert Saleh, okay, right, with Tennessee. There was another individual that you've heard be connected to this job that they interviewed, that they offered, who is going back to their current situation.
Right.
So they tried to hire somebody else this week for the job, and it would have been a good hire,
Mm-hmm.
and that person is going back to their original role. And so it's going to be difficult for them to now turn back to the fan base and be like, Nick was our guy all along.
Right. No, that's the uphill climb that they face, that it feels like they've been, on that journey, on that ascent all off season long, right? I mean, as we said that the coaching search, the head coaching search was a continuation, an extension of a brutal 2025 season where they went 3-14 and had to blow out Jonathan Gannon. And then, they couldn't get the second interview with Robert Saleh, and Clint Kubiak felt like he was just being cordial and nice and checking a box, and even meeting with the Cardinals on a weekend after he met with the Raiders, and all signs indicated he's going to become the Raiders head coach. And spoiler alert, shock to no one, he became the Raiders head coach a week before he won the Super Bowl with the Seahawks. Right. And the Arizona Cardinals landed on Mike LaFleur, who everybody thought, okay, this is the best candidate the Cardinals can do during this coaching cycle. So they get LaFleur in place, and you're able to take advantage of pivoting off the former coach in Jonathan Gannon, who went 15-36 over 3 seasons. The fan base was making their voice heard that they wanted that change, but you needed to bring in kind of a fresh direction. They got that with LaFleur. But then, as this organization hasn't been able to do, is get out of their own way.
Right.
And they've stumbled with trying to hire LaFleur's first staff. As you mentioned, you had Gus Bradley. You also have another name that was in the mix. It's not the fact that Rallis returned.
Right.
It's the fact that, and it is a fact, that Nick Rallis is not their second choice. He definitely wasn't their first choice. He appears at the bare minimum their third choice. He was their, as you mentioned, we don't eloquently put it, we poorly put it, that he was held hostage since Gannon was fired, that Nick Rallis was their break glass in case of emergency defensive coordinator. And it's unfortunate because Nick Rallis, because what we know, and I think some very level-headed fans understood, is Nick Rallis does have proof of solid performance. It's just the wheels fell off at the end of last year, and people haven't seen enough development. And Nick Rallis was the mentee of Jonathan Gannon and holds a lot of his scheme for sure and his principles as far as what his makeup is as a defensive coordinator. So it's one of those things that's just a damn near impossible sell to a fan base as we go back to seeking fresh direction.
Yeah, and listen, we're big enough to come on this show and be like my understanding last night was, well, maybe people weren't impressing in the interview process, and that was my understanding. Coming into today, maybe Rallis was compared to all these people.
Yeah,
it's no, they tried to hire. Now it's on record 2+ people for this job. And I think I didn't want to believe the optics of, once you hired a head coach, I thought we were going to be semi smooth sailing here, putting together the staff. And I thought the most difficult part was going to be finding the head coach. We saw that. It was a disaster for a month, right? This whole thing, I mean, Michael LaFleur is going to have the ultimate leash, and he should. But yeah. I mean, Michael Bidwill, this has been painful for them. Monti Ossenfort, we don't know if he's going to survive this. Check back in a year to 18 months if he's still around. I just think they were so unprepared for this coaching search, and no one can push back on that now. And frankly, Bo, if they were, I hate to use this term, bigger market team, they would be getting destroyed nationally every day. If any other franchise operated this way, I mean, they're kind of hiding under this and that unanimous kind of shield this offseason. Right. What are the Cardinals doing? They're going back to Nick Rallis. And the national people, we like Nick Rallis. You're going to hear from Mike. Mike likes Nick Rallis. It's not so much about Nick. It's about how you got to Nick.
Right.
And I was trying to text with somebody today. I'm I can't remember this ever happening before. And I think it just would have been easier for the fan base, like, had you turned around and hired Nick like 3 days after you hired Mike, and people would have been like, that's not my first choice, but like, hey, if Mike likes him, then that's good enough for me. I mean, Mike clearly tried to hire multiple other people. And I hope that for Mike LaFleur's case, he's not getting cold feet of like, oh, is this how it's going to be to operate here? Because you're part of the LA Rams. You get everybody.
Yeah.
Like Cliff Kingsbury takes a pay cut to come work for you, be an assistant for McVay. Like, that's not the reality here. But then again, he did work for the New York Jets. So I'm not sitting here, I'm not throwing water on this entire season or Mike's chances. But I do think, like, man, they need free agency to start. This team needs to be done with this staff. And then we'll judge it rightfully so on how they do this season.
Yeah. No, I mean, I agree. And I think I'll even add to that. It's just like, I'm not counting out Nick Rallis' ability to be a really rock solid, good defensive coordinator in this league. We've seen more consistent performance from his side of the football during the last 3 years than really anybody else's unit, right?
Yes.
I mean, maybe outside of Clayton Adams, who left 2 years into this thing. But it is this optics game that unfortunately is very real in an entertainment business like the NFL. And, you suffer, in a public forum, losses, lose out, or get denied. It's tough. I mean, you can appreciate the shooter's mentality. You have no other option. But let me ask you a very important question. And I list the chat. You guys are crushing it already. Hit that like, nearly 500 people watching. But Johnny, you can answer first. When you look at this staff, 3 coordinators in place, and a lot of the position coach starting to get in place, and you just kind of pit it versus last season's staff, have they elevated the coaching staff since Gannon's 2025 iteration?
The only reason I say yes is because your offensive play caller is your head coach.
Okay.
And that's what matters maybe more than anything in today's NFL landscape. Is Nate Hackett and Nick Rallis better than Drew Petzing and Nick Rallis? It's probably about even, but Nate Hackett's not calling plays. Drew Petzing sabotaged this team, whether you like him or not, by calling plays. And I love Jonathan Gannon, but Jonathan Gannon did not show an ability to pivot off coaches that underperformed. And they lost Clayton Adams, right? Like, I just think the driving, this is the way it should be. The driving point of whether or not Mike LaFleur's tenure is going to be a success is going to be what Mike LaFleur does. He's going to call plays. He's going to develop quarterbacks. He's going to put together an infrastructure that existed with the Rams and try to duplicate that here, right? Like, and the rest of the guys hopefully follow suit and fall in line, and that'll be great. And hopefully Nick Rallis gets a second life here. And if not, guess what? We'll be here next offseason, and they'll be looking for another defensive coordinator. But I only will say yes. I mean, Jonathan Gannon won 15 games in 3 years. Like, I think you and I both agree that Michael LaFleur has a chance to beat that number. Do you agree with that?
I do agree with that, but is he at this point, a couple weeks into his tenure and just building his first staff, and where the roster stands and where the most important position in all of sports is, there's very little clarity as far as that goes. As far as setting himself up or setting him up for success, I can't say that you have. I'd say that, like, if you are going to say, okay, I'll give the edge to like Michael LaFleur, and you're putting a ton on the shoulders of Michael LaFleur,
which is probably not fair, by the way.
It's not. It's really not, and it's putting a guy who is his last big opportunity as the main play caller for the Jets. He wasn't set up for success, and often when that happens, and what happened was he didn't have success. So it's just you're putting him in a position for that is, the odds are incredibly stacked against him. Now, like, as you talk about the leash being a little bit longer, he does have the ability to take his tiny shovel and dig himself out of this big hole. It's just unfortunate for this fan base that has been, subjected to so many losses dating back past Gannon. Like you had one winning season in 21.
Yeah.
And dating back to 2015, you haven't won anything. I mean, it's just been loss after loss after loss. And it's just, for me, like frustration is mounting, and it's not a LaFleur thing. It's just, there isn't anything that has sparked inspiration from building the staff.
No, I agree. And I was excited to hoard assistance from the division and go through, LaFleur staff and McDonald staff and Shanahan staff. That has not happened up until this point. Like they have hit rock bottom as a franchise. And I thought it was 3 years ago.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, I think the roster is better than 3 years ago, but there's nowhere to go but up now. And you have to rebuild credibility locally and nationally. Yeah, you have to get people to look at your brand and think it's legitimate.
Yeah.
And they can't think of you like a joke, because too many people do right now. Like that can't be, pushed back on. Like the Cardinals are a joke to a lot of people.
Mm-hmm.
And so I see it in the chat, the only thing that can sway that is winning, right?
Mm-hmm.
Like, I mean, Kevin O'Connell went to the Minnesota Vikings. They had success before, but he's made them a winner. I mean, like Liam Cohen, the Jaguars were a joke. He put a staff together of virtual unknowns, and he won. He had Trevor Lawrence in an easier division. He won 13 games, right?
Yeah.
If they're going to hit on a guy, the guy has to be able to come in here and be a superstar. Like I think Jonathan Gannon in the right circumstances probably would have been okay as a head coach, but this division ate him alive, right?
Right.
I would rather continue to roll the dice on somebody from an infrastructure where it's worked before that calls plays offensively. I think that's the quickest way. I've made that argument for 6 weeks. That's the quickest way out of this shit house that they found themselves in as a franchise. Because right. I think going the other route, and I would include Anthony Campanelli in this too, it's just not good enough.
Right.
This franchise has only ever won with offensive play callers, offensive coaches, and in this league in particular, that's the differentiator. 100% that is. And so for me, it's disheartening, especially with Rallis, but I'm not going to sit up here and not say that coming into last season and through the first half of the season that I didn't think Nick Rallis was going to be on this roster. He was a rock solid coordinator.
Yeah.
He had an abysmal 2-month stretch that should have gotten him fired. I have no issue saying that. But his tenure up until that point, you had mentioned it, has been the best of any coach sans Clayton Adams that Jonathan Gannon had hired. I mean,
right.
Go look at the stats leading into that Cowboy game. They gave up 30 points one time. For the most part, it was in the teens and the 20s. And then after that Dallas game, for whatever reason, whether they quit on the staff or they quit on Gannon, lack of player development, they were the worst defense in the NFL. I mean, you better sure as hell hope there's not a continuation of that this fall.
Right. I mean, they gave up the 4th most points in the league overall. I think they gave up a franchise worst amount of points.
Yeah.
In the history of this organization, which has had some bad years, especially on that side of the football. It's just on paper. You look at this coaching staff, you look at where they have holes on this roster, and you look at this division and where it went this past season, and what it's forecast to continue to do. I mean, the odds is a Cardinal and a Cardinals fan, like, they just seem insurmountable. I mean, it would be a great story, be an unbelievable story. It's just Mike LaFleur is going to have to dig deep into his bag, and he's going to have to take these experiences and working and growing up with his brother and working under Sean McVay and working under Kyle Shanahan and become like this incredible CEO, plus be able to show himself off as one of the top play callers on the offensive side of the football in the league.
But Bo, I'm not pushing back on what you just said. I've always thought that has been the case with whomever they've hired.
Sure.
The odds have always been ridiculously high and difficult. because of where the Cardinals sit right now. And I don't want somebody that reluctantly takes the job. I mean, like, the best thing you say about Mike LaFleur is he's jumping into this job with head first.
Yeah.
2 feet in, ready to get his hands dirty. Like, but you're right. Like, they have to get out of the headlines. They have to be in a position to get some wins. But, like, I mean, we'll talk about it. Like, Max Melton, like, being vocal on his Instagram that Nick Rallis is returning. Like, the part of the reason we were excited for the fresh start for LaFleur is the offensive guys that were going to be rejuvenated, like Marv. Defensively, I don't know what the plan is, but you got too many high-level draft picks, Darius and Max Melton and Will Johnson, those guys. Like, the Cardinals need them to perform to win games. Like, you can't just – I saw people, like, saying cut Max Melton, trade him. Like, he was a second-round pick 2 years ago. You got to make it work. And, like, if I'm Nick Rallis, like, and you're fortunate to be a DC right now, you better make it work with the players we have. I'm not subscribing to the narrative like, well, no, just because if they don't get along, get them out of here. Like, no, like, Max Melton was hand selected by Jonathan Gannon, and he was based to fit your scheme. And then they benched him, or he fell out of favor. It's like, you don't have enough good players to be sitting second round picks. So if I'm Monti Ossenfort, everybody needs to have a come to football Jesus moment. And it's just like, guys, we've invested 27, 28 draft picks on this team. Figure it out. Now, how that relates to like Nick Rallis and the scheme, I have no idea. That will be fascinating to see what happens.
No, how it relates to him is you've got it, especially that 2024 class where it was supposed to be the game-changing class.
Right.
As a draft and developed team. And there were key players selected in D-Rob and Max Melton that were supposed to make an impact. And Elijah Jones in the third round. It's just so imperative that those guys show and take strides next season because it's one for survival in this gauntlet of a division in this league. You got to get back on track and then just for Nick to prove that he has life, whether it's here or beyond Arizona, as a defensive play caller.
Cardinals are hiring Zach via Matt Zenith, who would have thought, Zach Etheridge to be the team's new cornerback coach, again, from the University of Miami. So this is the second coach this hiring cycle that the Cardinals have plucked from Miami. He's coached a number of NFL standouts, future defensive backs. He's been with Miami, Auburn, Houston, and has garnered interest from multiple NFL teams recently, now set to be the cornerbacks coach for Mike LaFleur in Arizona. So it's the second Miami coach that the Cardinals have hired this offseason.
Ryan Smith, he exited earlier this season, right?
Right.
And we'll see what holdovers, if Rallis gets really any.
Hopefully not. I mean, like the position coaches, respectfully, the last couple of years. I mean, that was one of the things that. I mean, Jonathan Gannon, the only changes he made was he fired position coaches on the defensive side.
Right.
I thought the offensive position coaches did a much better job than the defensive guys. I just was not impressed with that. And I think get new people in here. Would I like Zach Etheridge to have like professional experience? Of course. Doesn't have it though. I mean, like, we can definitely make the argument, even with Nate Hackett, the offensive staff is significantly better than the defensive staff right now. I don't even think that can be.
Sure. I mean, from the main play caller standpoint, no doubt about it.
Well, but I get the receivers coach from Minnesota. Your OC has been in the NFL for 15 years. He's been a coordinator before. Justin Fry has been an O-line coach at least for 1 year in the NFL. Your tight ends coach comes from the NFL. No, like these are NFL coaches.
Sure.
The defense, it's like Nick Rallis right now, and who else? You got a cornerback coach from Miami.
Yeah.
Anybody else? Who else do we have? Who's the defensive line coach? That would be a big hire.
That's going to be a huge hire. It's going to be a huge hire because it was where they took a misstep, I think, last year in going with way too much youth. I mean, a guy in his 20s, his late 20s, and Coach
right. This guy's Etheridge is at least 37 years old, and he was with Bill O'Brien at Penn State.
When you're looking around, though, at a lot of these guys that are getting opportunities at DC jobs, I mean, they're DBs coaches. That's the one thing I'm kind of concerned about.
Yeah.
It's like when you look at, was it Karl Scott from the Seahawks and Aubrey Pleasant? Like a lot of these guys' backgrounds that were getting looks were DBs coaches. Can Etheridge come in from the U?
Yeah.
And immediately find his way at the NFL level and get guys like Will Johnson and we'll see what Max Melton's future holds. But I mentioned Elijah Jones, Garrett Williams when he gets healthy. Like once he gets his hands on him, can he develop them, turn them into guys that prove their worth as where they were drafted?
Let's take a look at the updated coaching graphic. Noah on the fly. There it is, Zach Etheridge, the first official hiring on Nick Rallis' defensive staff. Now, we did break down last night on the After Dark podcast that there's still some lingering names from the prior staff, but we have not heard if they're going to be retained or not. But the offensive staff, as you can see, is done. Matt Schaub, which we're fired up about. Tony Sorrento was with the Vikings. Matt Merritt was Etheridge's coaching mate in Miami. Jake Moreland's been in the NFL. Fry is the lone holdover on the offensive side. And then, of course, Nate Hackett and Mike LaFleur calling plays. So, I mean, like, do you think there's a possibility they could add like a senior defensive assistant? Could they, I mean, like people are speculating, like, could they get like a Terrell Austin or somebody to come in here? Like, could you pay somebody good money to come and help Nick? Or is Nick now the experienced guy?
I mean, Wink Martindale was a linebackers coach. Could you bring him in as a linebackers coach, or does he want to stay at the collegiate level? One thing that we don't have the assistance of the position coach, but they, according to Zenitz, who's been all over this, I highly suggest you follow Matt Zenitz, M Zenitz on Twitter. They're retaining Chris Cook, who's actually part of Clayton Adams' staff. Before, and he's going for a second season with Justin Fry. So the offensive line, there's a little continuity there, but they got to find their way as far as the run blocking goes and reestablish themselves in that department. It's going to be so important, especially when you're trying to help a defense that it might not be up to snuff at the NFL level. But it's starting to materialize. I mean, this time 48 hours ago, we had Gobriel and we had Hackett, and I think that was about it.
Yeah.
So things are moving quickly as they should, as we're, going to be about 1 week away from going to Indianapolis to the Combine.
We're taking a break, and then right around the corner, it's our guy Mike Garafolo with the very latest on Cards, Kyler, Malik, and more. It's PHNX. As we make our many travels this offseason, it can be tempting, right? Fast food, not eating healthy. Then I know I have the ultimate Factor in my corner every time I'm home. It's Factor Meals. Again, meals with lean protein, colorful veggies, and whole food ingredients with healthy fats, right? You got to have those fats, but the healthy kind. Here's the biggest kick. No refined sugars, no artificial sweeteners, no refined seed oils. Just good food, rotating meals every single week. High protein, calorie smart, ready to eat salads, and the new Muscle Pro collection for strength and recovery for your boy. Again, you pick what your goal is. My goal is good food in a timely fashion, right? No more, hey, this is going to take you about 25 minutes to prep, when in all actuality, it takes an hour and the cleanup is insane. How about meals ready in 2 minutes? How about eating healthier, calorie management, more protein for whatever fits your well-being? Always fresh, never frozen. Again, ready, pop it in the oven, pop it in the microwave, 2 minutes, no prep, no cleanup, no mental load. Check them out right now. Head to factormeals.com/PHNX50 off. Again, factormeals.com, PHNX50 off. Use the bonus code PHNX50 off. And again, it says what it's going to do. It's going to give you 50% off your first Factor box. Plus, you get 1 year free breakfast. Check it out right now. There's a link in the description. Offer is only valid for new customers and qualifying auto-renewing subscription purchases. Do yourself a favor. We're early into 2026. Make 2026 the year of eating healthy with Factor.
Makes too much sense, right? I mean, it takes doing something that's tough and makes it easier and also gives you the perks. And that's also what's going on with Mountain America Credit Union. Make their My Style checking account your lifestyle. Check them out right now, macu.com. Everybody needs a checking account, but why not get one that works for you and has built-in perks like this one at MACU? You get things like restaurant deals, mobile phone protection, telehealth access, identity protection, and even loan rate discounts, plus offers on travel and events. Who doesn't love that? It's one account with a bunch of perks baked into it. So instead of your checking account just sitting there or costing you a monthly fee, why not get one that gives you the perks that you deserve? Make My Style your lifestyle. Mountain America Credit Union today. Check them out, macu.com/mystyle to apply. It's macu.com/mystyle to apply. Membership required. Some benefits require activation. And Mountain America, it's insured by the NCUA. One more time for you. It's macu.com/mystyle to apply.
Yes, as you will throughout the course of the offseason, NFL insider for, of course, NFL.com, NFL Network, Mike Garafolo, who we chatted with last week at the Super Bowl. Fast forward to now, there's been a flurry, Mike, of Cardinal-related coaching news. A shocker, Nick Rallis returns. He's been kind of held captive by the team since JG's firing. They've interviewed other people. How did this all come about, in your opinion?
Held captive is a little strong, I'd say. I've seen it. I'm trying to remember a similar one this year where guys weren't allowed to interview elsewhere, and not necessarily a bad thing. It's just, it sucks when, you know, you're blocked for other jobs and then you don't get the job at the place that you were. So, and I know Jonathan Gannon was always a fan of Nick Rallis, always a fan. Just thought he was tremendously gifted as a coach, and he was not the only one in the building that felt that way, and clearly had supporters upstairs. There were conversations. So I know that the folks that were already there, and Monti Ossenfort being one of them, champions of Nick Rallis, and conversations are happening. Mike LaFleur is coming in, doesn't really know everybody, right? Has a general sense of, having been coaching for a team that's played against the Arizona Cardinals the last couple of years. So in the end, I think it was probably a wise choice, to stick with a guy that was so highly thought of in the building, have at least a little bit of continuity here as you start with this new coaching staff. So, it's if he had been held this time and then, oh, by the way, you're not our DC, a little bit of a different ending, I suppose. But in the end, when teams have those contracts that extend beyond the current season, they're like, well, we're paying it. We have it under that's the reason for the contract. It's a lot of times why I'll give you one. Matt Nagy decided not to sign his contract with the Kansas City Chiefs this past season before the year, saying, I'm going to bet on myself this offseason. Worst comes to worst, I could potentially still come back to Kansas City, but wasn't the primary play caller. So it was like head coach, then play calling offensive coordinator, unquestioned somewhere, and then return to Kansas City, winds up getting the job with the Giants. So sometimes it's tough for a coach to make that call. The alternative is being kept from interviewing for lateral moves elsewhere. In the end, it worked out for Nick Rallis.
Does just the ability or the value of being one of 32, getting to be a DC at 32 years old, like Nick Rallis, is so young. And we agree with you. I mean, this guy was a rising star up until about the final 2 months of the season. And then he fell out of favor, of course, with the fan base with lopsided performances from the Cardinals, and it led to Gannon's firing. But, you report Charlie Bolin, the interim DC there, and the Giants, he interviewed for this position. Aubrey Pleasant. We had Karl Scott. He interviewed it from the Seahawks. Yeah. Martindale was tied to this job. We mentioned Bradley. Like, what can we say, or what can we kind of speculate as far as where the footing is between all parties involved here, where Nick's still in the building, guys are interviewing to be his replacement, and then the Cardinals, there's Albert Breer saying that the job was offered to Gus Bradley. Like, how do they come together? How do they recontract to move forward?
At this point, you just coach your best football, and you hope for your best football. Yes, I have your printout. Hold on. This is like, we got we're printing out labels for returns and stuff like that. Yeah, all good. No problem. You have any thoughts on the Cardinals coaching staff? Nothing. All right. Good luck with your return. I got to find another place for the printer. My office doesn't seem to work. What was the question? Oh, Gus Bradley. Yeah. And that's a non-play calling job that he wound up taking.
Right.
I don't understand. And I have not talked to Gus about that. I don't know. Because Robert Saleh made it clear he wants to call play. So I don't know about that. And I don't know that it was necessarily like this huge fallback that like they got turned down by so many people, because look, your restart, I thought it was one that a lot of folks were interested. I know Charlie Bullen was, I don't know exactly when he pulled out versus when they decided to go with Nick or vice versa. But I know that there was interest in that because listen, it's a great place to live. Number one, you don't get a lot of that. I've had a lot of like, oh, I got to go live in Buffalo or Cleveland or all these other places. So that's number one. Number two, there's going to be runway here. There was a lot of coordinator spots. She's printing out another label. There are a lot of coordinator spots that were going to be with head coaches that were potentially on the hot seat. And so a lot of folks were steering clear of those. So I don't know. I don't have the final answer on that on Gus Bradley, but for Rallis, best possible outcome for him.
Real quick, last question. It's very bizarre that Mike's brother, Matt, now employs Jonathan Gannon.
Yeah.
And Jonathan Gannon's an advocate for Nick. Can we draw the conclusion that, Matt likely recommended Nathaniel Hackett for the OC job? Is there a possibility that Matt and Jonathan Gannon told Mike LaFleur, like, you ought to keep Nick Rallis on this staff?
Yeah, it was no question in my mind that was at least relayed from Jonathan to Matt to Mike that way. And
right.
I saw Matt was at the press conference. He certainly loves his brother. Those two are tight. And, there's certainly communication between the two. I mean, there's communication between coaching staffs more than we probably realize. Like, not when they're playing one another, or certainly in that competitive nature. It's also why John Harbaugh, one of the reasons he wanted to be in the NFC was to not face his brother nearly as much and to be able, because those guys communicate all the time too as well. So I have no doubt that communication, at least through the way that we talked about, if not directly between Gannon and Mike LaFleur, he loves Rallis. He thinks he's always been on point. Offensively, the Cardinals haven't been where they needed to be the last couple of years. And when you talk about the performances down the stretch, it just felt like a team that was leaking oil for a lot of reasons, right? And I'm sure that was relayed as well from Gannon to Mike LaFleur in this case.
Let's end this conversation with this, because Jonathan Gannon certainly had full autonomy as far as his coaching staff. A lot of people want to jump to the conclusion that LaFleur was saddled with Rallis. You get the sense that Mike LaFleur has the same full autonomy as far as building his first staff here in the desert?
Yes, I do. Now, in collaboration with Monti and with the front office and all the other folks that had some input, I believe it was collaboration. I don't sense that there was anything forced on him at this point by any stretch. I have not heard that to that regard. So Karl Scott, you guys were asking about him. Ian and I were talking about this earlier. Staying in Seattle. Okay, we thought he was potentially going to Vegas. I had heard a little bit of that. So it sounds like he's staying in Seattle after Rallis gets the defensive coordinator job. So there you go. Could have been another one that's like, oh, you know what? I didn't get that job in Arizona. I think there were guys that were in the mix. I don't think everybody pulled out or turned them down. So there you got a guy staying in Seattle there.
All right, so we're going to ask you a question. We're going to ask you for the next month until it inevitably goes down. What's your opinion on the Kyler Murray saga? Because it feels like with each passing day, I think there's momentum for him to be cut based on the cap gymnastics. I would love for the team. Listen, I would love for them to keep Kyler Murray. It doesn't seem like they're going to do that. I mean,
Sell me on it.
I didn't think they were going to keep Nick Rallis, and they did. So maybe there's a reality in which they would do it. I guess this is a two-parter, Mike, and I'm not phrasing it particularly well, but like they have to have a plan at quarterback if you're cutting Kyler Murray, right?
Your plan is going to be a cluster of guys. Your plan is potentially that cluster, including a guy you're going to draft highly, potentially. And you say, okay, we're comfortable with one of these. You don't make this move and say, we've got one guy in mind. It's not going to work that way. So you've got to have these decisions made with, okay, if we get any one of these 4 or 5, we're comfortable with it. That's how it's done to make a move like this, to make a decision like this, I should say. So, there'll be communication at the combine. We are right up against it. We got a week and a half before we're in Indianapolis, less than a week and a half before we're in Indianapolis. And that's when things start to crystallize a little bit as far as who's going to be available, who you could potentially land. It's going to suck financially if they decide to make that decision, but it's the lesser suck of, well, if it's another year of paying him all this and then we're going to owe him more on top of that in 2027, that's going to be doubly painful. It's why the Broncos a couple of years ago decided, like, we're going to eat whatever we had to eat on Russell Wilson to avoid the next year triggering. It's a similar situation. It's a good contract structure. It gives the player a lot of power and a lot of options. So good on Kyler Murray and his camp for getting that structure the way that they did. But you've got to cut bait at this point. I just don't see why you'd think all of a sudden things are going to turn for him in Arizona. Feels like he needs a fresh start as well.
It does certainly feel like all parties involved. But as far as just the perception of it, when people see this quarterback market and how it really hasn't materialized, there's not a ton of options. There rarely is, but this more so than any. It's a one quarterback draft. It feels like, people don't understand where it's like it's not a case of Kyler Murray is your best option. Like, you're talking about, they need to get in front of this to where the 2027 guarantees don't kick in, and the Cardinals can move forward starting this offseason so they're not saddled with future, investments in Kyler Murray. It's not Kyler versus everybody else. It's the Cardinals' decision to take this leap of faith at the quarterback position post Kyler Murray. Yeah,
I also just, it has been a one quarterback draft for a lot of folks in their minds. I think there's going to be 2 in the first round, potentially highly. You could see Ty Simpson go early. For him to come out the way that he did and turn down another year at Bama, I am of the belief that he felt confident that enough teams were going to have interest in him that he'd go first round to make that jump to the NFL. So I don't know what that does for you. I know there are a lot of folks who are big Simpson guys and some who think that he still needs some further refinement and maybe he's not big enough. But that's the conversation we're going to have for the draft leading up here. So there's some teams are going to be happy with what they wind up with from a quarterback standpoint. Somebody's going to take Malik Willis, and that's a boomer bust in my mind, because a lot of times with these backup quarterbacks, when you see just a little bit, it's like, oh, well, that could be the sample of the greater whole. And then the guy goes somewhere and it's not that, because of a variety of reasons, whether it's he leaves a coaching staff that was coaching him up really well, a situation with a lot of great weapons and players around him, and potentially just was playing well for those short periods of time and fooled you into thinking that he was great. I mean, Matt Flynn with the Packers years ago, you saw just a little bit, he winds up with a great contract and didn't wind up even starting for the Seahawks right away. So I think some teams are going to be happy with what they wind up. Kirk Cousins is an option for some teams out there. I thought he played good football down the stretch. I don't think you're turning it over to Kirk Cousins and saying we've got the next quarterback for the next 3 years, but he could get you some wins and buy you some time, certainly as a coaching staff potentially starting out. So let's see what those talks at the combine bring here for the Cardinals in the quarterback market.
Do you expect them to be in the Malik Willis, I guess, sweepstakes because of the relationship with Mike and Matt and the connection there? I know a lot of people, rightfully so, connect Malik with the Dolphins, but I just look at that infrastructure there. You got a defensive head coach, you've got offensive unfamiliarity. Like, I mean, if the Cardinals wanted to pursue Malik Willis, would they have a good chance at signing him?
You make a great point, because the connections are more on the offensive side for the Cardinals. It's a great point. And I've thought about that. It's like, okay, great. The defensive coordinator who ran a show team in front of Malik, like what, now I'm sure he saw some habits inside of the building. And certainly when he did play, he was probably impressed, but that doesn't make it an automatic for me. Whereas, and we just talked about what kind of word could Gannon have put out toward Mike LaFleur for Rallis, could potentially have the same thing from Matt LaFleur in that regard. So he wants his brother to succeed. I'm sure he'll tell him the honest truth on Malik Willis. So you're right. I mean, that's a potential one. I think he's somewhere in the structure could be interesting, but somewhere in the $20-something million range. right? I think that's a fair number for Malik Willis. It used to be the top of the market. Now it's not even halfway to the top of the market.
Right.
And then potentially some things that you can earn along the way to get yourself some bigger money. He'll probably want something in the 30s, just saying, hey, here's my strength that I'm negotiating from. I think that's a little too rich for some folks' blood. So it's not unreasonable to think you could cut Kyler Murray and still pay that kind of money toward Malik Willis. Certainly reasonable. So let's see how it goes.
Yeah, you mentioned it there, and just to ultimately clarify to Cardinals fans out there, like cut Kyler Murray. Do you feel like that's probably more so than a trade option?
I mean, it depends on what they're willing to eat.
Yeah.
You know, it depends, I think, on how not desperate, but if this shuffle starts to happen, because there's more openings. This is the one thing that people, when I'm talking about how this is going to go, there's more openings than reasonable bodies to fill these openings, right? And especially when you factor in potentially, you know, if Tua is getting cut, is he really considered a starting quarterback by most of the league? I don't know that he is, right?
Right.
Mm-hmm.
And he could have to go somewhere where he's either competing or serving as a backup to sort of rebuild himself, because some of these options for some of these guys are going to be like, well, yeah, there's a chair over there, but do I really want to go there? I mean, Minnesota seems to be the one that's a lot of folks would love to get to. That's like Kirk Cousins in my mind would want to go there if he's not in Atlanta. I don't rule out Atlanta for him, by the way. If Derek Carr returns, Minnesota is going to be on his short list, because I know that there's been previously some interest in him there. Is Derek Carr going to Arizona for something that's on the startup in a division where that's the heart? I mean, that of all the things I've heard, like that's the thing that's been the toughest selling point for the Cardinals is we may have to start over with a new quarterback, you know, maybe a little bit of short-term pain for a long-term game at a lot of positions. And we're going up against teams that are in the Super Bowl, competing for the Super Bowl, making the playoffs. Like, it's a really tough sell in that division right now. So it's just going to have to be an understanding of it's not going to be immediate success, but do it the right way. You set yourself up for long-term success.
A couple rapid fire here before we get you out of here, Mike. Breece Hall, franchise tag, free agent. What do you expect there? I know he flourished under Mike LaFleur, and the Cardinals need a running back.
Now, to not trade him at the trading deadline, in my mind, made me think franchise tag.
Okay.
I've heard some mixed perceptions of that as we get closer here. So I'm on the fence on that one with Breece Hall. If he gets, I'll tell you this, if he gets franchise, he's not going to be happy. Not going to be happy. And then maybe it's a tag and trade type situation. We'll see.
What about Mac Jones? Inevitably probably gets dealt, especially when you consider they lack a surplus at quarterback.
No sure thing. No sure thing. I mean, it's going to have to be value for the 49ers to make that move. And it's, you know, whether it's like we talked about with Kyler, it depends on if guys don't get their guys. Okay, can we get more aggressive for Mac Jones? So I'll go greater than 50% on Mac Jones, but I can't get to 100 yet.
And lastly, how about this NFLPA grades? Cardinals' new facility opens up in 2028, but that's a long way away, and a lot of bad report cards coming their way. Good thing for the Cardinals that this is kind of going either towards reform or gone as we know it.
The facility itself, or the
public shaming, basically.
It's still, I mean, it could still be a private communication thing, right? Yeah. I mean, their biggest thing is that it was not for public consumption. So, and that really puts the pressure on it. And I think in a lot of cases led to some good. So the NFLPA has got to figure out a way to do that in a more constructive, private manner. They've got a lot of things they're going to be talking about coming up here, whether it's the 18th game or the potential to restart CBA negotiations here in the coming years. So I would add that to the list and make sure that, because there's some facilities that are just like the Washington facility is, what are we doing? And I know that they were talking about building a new one there too as well. Houston's now building a new one. So that's important. You spend more time at the facility than you do at the stadium. Like that should be your number one priority. But a lot of times it's for the fan experience and making money. Shocker.
Yeah. I think you need to change out the toner, Mike. I think you got maybe a warning code there.
Kids usually kill me on that because they want the full color printouts, and it's like these cartridges. I don't understand how these cartridges, like they're out of ink like that. And you got to go buy a new one for like $90 too.
Right. It's the cost of an offensive lineman in free agency.
Yeah, I saw Shaq a couple of years ago was advertising a never run out of ink or more ink or whatever, something like that. I gotta talk to Shaq about that.
What doesn't he advertise for though?
Exactly. Honestly, here's the other surprise. I thought we were out of paper. I don't know where this paper came from. So, because my kids take the paper too, and yesterday I was going to go print out. So I got stuff to print out now. I'm going to wind up doing it.
He's a wealth of information and insight as far as the NFL goes. Make sure you're following along on social media. You're watching his work. The Insiders.
Yeah.
His best friends, Tom Pelissaro, Ian Rappaport, and crew.
Best friends.
That's right. And you can see him with Cuz, of course, on our All-City friends at PHLY. Mike Garafolo, thanks so much.
We're all in the family. Thank you, boys. See you in the Indy in a couple of weeks here.
Sounds good.
Mike is the best. Can't wait to have him back on throughout the course of the offseason with the very latest on this team, your super chats, and we debrief Mike's comments coming up. Do you need help? Have you been in a serious accident or injury? Well, the lawyer you decide, it matters, right? And that's where Mark and Alexis Breyer, the husband and wife law team, jump in to give you what you need. Phoenix is their home, right? They've raised their 8 children here, and they've had a focus. That focus being client results and giving back to the community. They're a staple in the Valley. I'll never forget, I moved here half a decade plus ago, and I saw all their branding throughout the Valley. I had to know what's up, and they're here to help you because let's face it, after a serious injury, you want to make a hire of an attorney that's focused on your best possible outcome. Now, how much money the firm makes, that's where the husband and wife law team steps in. They're certified specialists by the State Bar of Arizona, which, by the way, only certifies less than 1% of all lawyers specialists in injury and wrongful death litigation. You can access them at any time, all the time. Never play phone tag, never speak with an answering machine. Call your paralegal, schedule time with a lawyer, and know that you will have the support you deserve. The attorney will always find time to meet with a client. And again, you're going to actually go to trial. They are trial lawyers. So in case you need to go to trial, they're ready to go. They know their way around the courtroom, and they know what needs to be done. They're not just there to settle. And again, don't settle for less. Call the husband and wife law team. Nobody can guarantee the outcome of a legal case, but they are there to make you proud, all their customers, of all their clients when it comes to the relationship with you. You can cancel their fee agreement at any time. And again, you're going to receive at least as much in your pocket as they receive in their fee, even if they have to reduce their attorney fees to do so. Give them a call now. If you had a serious injury, call the husband and wife law team first, 602-783-8841. That's 602-783-8841. Check out their link in the description below. Tell them PHNX Cardinals sent you.
Mike LaFleur had a big-time project in assembling his first coaching staff. I bet he wish he had somebody as useful as the Window Depot to help him build such a big project. You can't make the same mistakes, and it's legit. When you tap into the Window Depot, it's really your one-stop shop for any of the projects you're taking on here in the new year. How about they've been serving Arizona since 2002? Sure, they started in windows, but they're way more than just a window store now. We're talking window stores, skylights, cabinets, countertops, sinks, you name it, and tons of inventory in stock and ready to just pick up and start your project today. And if you need something custom, they got you covered there too. Professionals, they love them because they're job site ready quantities, the great pricing, and expert service. Well, no membership is required. Plus, the do-it-yourselfers, the homeowners love them because they're in-house designers. They're free, and they help take your dreams and make them a reality, bringing your vision to life. If you're starting that project with the football season in the rearview mirror, look no further than our friends at thewindow.depot.com. That's thewindow.depot.com to get started on your next project today.
Hit the like button. Get so many super chats. That's coming up imminently. But just your reaction to Mike's first of many hits this offseason. I'll just give you my 2 cents off the top. I think Mike knows how daunting of a task it's going to be to trade Kyler Murray. And I think, responsibly preparing his audience, our audience, for the Cardinals have been trying to work this since the trade deadline. We reported that they casually shopped him at that time. They didn't have any takers. Everything's reset now. Everybody's coming at it from a different vantage point. you hear about everybody wants to go and play for Kevin O'Connell and, Frank Wright with Kyler Murray and the Jets. Would that even work? Like, I know we say that there are a bunch of openings, but then when you get down to brass tacks for these jobs, Kyler Murray, we know this. We've watched him his whole career. He's a very specific quarterback.
Yeah, he is. And as far as that money, it's going to come down to the Cardinals and their willingness to maybe buy it down, as he said. Is that going to be what's only going to trigger a potential trade and then not have to absorb, the $55 million that you would have to in dead money if you cut him? I mean, I still think that is the worst of all realities. You want to avoid that at all costs if you're Monti Ossenfort. It doesn't sound like it's completely out of the question.
Right. It's not dead.
It's not. And I think the quarterback market is one of the main reasons for that. And the Ty Simpson thing, like, we'll see how the pre-draft goes with that. I don't think he's saying the Cardinals would use their third overall pick, but Cardinals, he did mention they're eyeing a drafting a quarterback potentially is one of their solutions. Like, it does make sense when you are making a big leap of faith and you're pivoting off your previous franchise quarterback that, even though Seattle landed on Sam Darnold and that was their top option and they got him, that you don't have any fallback plans. And that should be the case. It's just, who's the Cardinals' top option? Is it Malik Willis? And then is Kirk Cousins a backup option? And Derek Carr, if he wants to entertain, coming to the desert out of retirement, like, can you get 3 to 4 deep that would be considered loosely viable options? That's the interesting thing. But there was a lot to unpack there as far as what our guy Mike G was breaking down. And it wasn't short on being intriguing or interesting. I mean, the Cardinals in this coaching search and how they landed back on Nick Rallis, like, I do believe in a lot of what he said as far as Gannon and the conversations with both LaFleurs. But at the same time, the reality is, 2 guys turned down this position that we know of. This is where they landed. So a lot there and not a lot of great news as it pertains to the Cards.
A lot of work to do. And we'll keep Mike on speed dial. Again, we were talking with our team earlier today about combine prep, and we're going to the combine for about 3 days in 2 weeks. And I would say 90% of our time is going to be what's going on with Mike and Monty, the staff, and then what's happening at quarterback. I mean, it's like, it just feels this draft, which is, I think, a fun draft with some key names. Like, it feels very secondary right now because there's so much uncertainty and there's not a draft pick that you can make in this third overall that can help alleviate their concerns at quarterback. So, I mean, this Kyler Murray discussion, I mean, we're about to hit overdrive with it here in the coming days.
The last thing, the Malik Willis stuff. As I mentioned earlier this week, like, Sam Darnold coming off a Super Bowl win, he signed a pretty modest 3 for $100 million deal. He was a quarterback of a 14-win Vikings team, threw for 30+ touchdowns last year. A lot of people were kind of on the fence as far as, was he a product of KOC, the environment he was in, the infrastructure there in Minnesota? And, you pit him versus the quarterback play this year, and it's not in the same conversation. Malik Willis isn't in the same conversation as Sam Darnold. Does he happen to be probably the most sought-after free agent quarterback? Sure. But Mike putting out those numbers where it's going to be like $20 million a year, that's like Justin Fields, type territory, with the opportunity to get up to close, maybe 30, but that Garafolo didn't seem to think that was going to happen. I mean, there is going to be suitors. There is going to be a competitive market, but at the same time, this is not like an investment that's going to set the Cardinals back.
No,
this is investment that you can make that's, probably below market value for a starter, but still going to require some space, but not that should turn off the fan base. Like, oh no, like the sticker price of $20 million. Like, if you think 20 million is a lot, you haven't paid attention to how much that position's commanding.
No, it could cost less than Sweaty J, who's making about 20 mil per season with the Cardinals. You guys have crushed it. We've 2 very generous super chats I want to grab off the top here. $100 from my guy, Kyle Haley. Unbelievable. Appreciate you guys going live last night. It helped me kind of rationalize what is going on with this team. We appreciate you, Kyle. It's so generous, not necessary at all, but very much welcome. I mean, yeah, Noah and Bo and I are on a text thread. The biggest thing was we needed to be able to get, some production help. And Bo and I were ready to rip it. Our families were in bed, and they were like, we don't care if you're doing your sicko stuff after hours. So thank you for I appreciate it.
Yeah. I told my wife, I mean, we were sitting there watching the Olympics, and I was like, I can't believe this team, but I think we're going to have to go live. And she's like, I don't care what you do. Go ahead.
As long as it doesn't impact me.
Yeah, I'm going to bed. You go on and do your nerd sicko stuff.
Yeah.
And I'm going to be an adult, and I'm going to go get my 8 hours of sleep.
Smart. Thank you so much, Kyle. So generous. We appreciate you, and we
Yes.
appreciate this one too. Back-to-back undies. It's Ranger. So the team goes out trying to get a new DC and wants to spend money, but comes away with the DC they wanted to replace. Smells like the team got turned down again. I think there's a lot of truth to the latter, and I didn't want to believe it because money talks, shit walks. We know who they got turned down by this week. And listen, like, it would have been a nice hire. It's disappointing. And then you've got Aubrey Pleasant going out and interviewing with the Raiders today, and it's just like they're going to get somebody external because their former DC, I think, went to Pittsburgh with McCarthy.
Yeah.
So there are people who wanted to disassociate from the prior regime completely.
Mm-hmm.
And especially with Gannon and his defense, which became such an eyesore at the end of last year. And now it's just like, hey, guys, Rallis is back, and we could be doing the exact same thing. And people are like, what? Like, people would legitimately have rather gone with a complete unknown.
Right.
I'm going to tell you right now, it sounds like they definitely could have hired the linebacker coach from the Giants, right?
Mm-hmm.
And like, they didn't. So but I get it. It's not a great feeling today.
No, it's not. It feels like you had to go crawling back to Nick Rallis after interviewing his replacements,
right?
And then just turning back around and saying, you know what? You're our man. You were always our man. Those other guys, that we didn't mean that. We want to get back together with you. It's it really like we said, it's just the percent how it is viewed, because you're right. Like, it's the devil you know versus the devil you don't know. Like,
right.
We have no clue as far as Aubrey Pleasant and his ability to call a defense. Same thing goes for Karl Scott. Same thing, Charlie Bolin at least has a little sample size last year, but Nick Rallis is the most experienced at 32 years old and having 3, tough seasons under his belt. Can he emerge? Like, I'd say, like, the actual, like, separation between those candidates and Nick Rallis is slimmer than I think people would want to admit.
Right. And I agree with that. And I texted somebody earlier today that Nick had a bunch of stuff lined up, but he couldn't move on it.
Wow.
And so he's back. Jenga Man's back. Thank you, Ranger. Thank you, Kyle. What a great way to start the show. $100 super chats. $2 from Jenga Man. Interviewed 2 NFC West people. One said no. What about the other? The other did not say no. The other, to our knowledge, did not say no. And was not offered the job.
I would say there's stuff out there in the space, the Cardinal space, that is saying that doesn't match what we're hearing.
Right. We feel like our source is pretty locked in. And Gus Bradley turned them down, which, whatever, Gus Bradley, but yeah, I think if you're scoring at home, it was one of either Pleasant or Scott. Joy saved the day. Jay saved the day, excuse me. Became a YouTube member. Thank you, Jay. Appreciate you. My eyes are giving out. It's the end of the day. Sorry.
What those late night streams will do to you.
People thought I'd be hungover after that Michelob Ultra. Joke's on you. I'm thriving today.
Oh, man. How about Antonio has also been a supporter, member for a month? Well,
Let's
then
go.
I guess there's only one thing left to do, win the whole effing thing. The great Jake Taylor from Major League said that.
Or can we also say, look at this effing guy?
Oh, man.
About this team, because I
love it.
Damn person.
I was way too young when I was quoting Major League when I was a young boy. My dad thought it was hilarious, so I just kept doing it.
Miles is back, $5. Thank you, Antonio. Congrats on the 50K.
Wow.
Thank you, Miles. Clearly talk to Nick. Do we think Nick Rallis felt handcuffed by JG and thinks he can change his scheme and make the staff more comfortable? I hope the latter is correct, that they make some scheme adjustments, and Nick's smart and could do it. Here's what I can tell you. Jonathan Gannon got more hands-on as the season went on, and we were told that just the players mentally, what they were teaching, they were overthinking it. And I mean, like, Nick was a part of that, fair or not. Like, for Nick to be invited back, like, you have to get, if Mike LaFleur is a great teacher, like, you have to get back to basics with that unit.
Mm-hmm.
I think this goes without saying, like, the offensive struggles sabotage the defense, and then the defense completely unraveled. Like, they have to get this run game back to, like, playing complementary football. Like, whatever the hell they tried to do with the second half, where it was fantasy football charade with Jacoby Brissett throwing 500 yards. I mean, I'm not making excuses for the defense. Just like the team was such a disaster last year. You almost want to just throw away the tape.
Yeah, Michael LaFleur is giving Nick Rallis the opportunity he didn't get with the Jets.
It's a good point.
You know, I mean, this was a guy that clearly talented and a bright offensive mind, and goes to the Jets, and it's just a disaster. He's having to take on Zach Wilson and not a ton of playmaking, and he gets blown out, fair or unfairly. A lot of people would say unfairly.
Right.
And then you look at, Nick Rallis's tenure, can Mike LaFleur utilize his, shortcomings in New York and help Nick Rallis out of this without Nick Rallis having to get fired? I think, if there's anybody that knows a ton about what Nick's going through, it's Mike LaFleur. So
it's a really good point.
That's going to be really interesting to see how that plays out.
There are two guys you can root for. I mean, Nick is an awesome guy. He just, man, those November and December, just disaster class. Mo, AZ Cards fan, $4.99. After season from hell and coaching circus, waking up to the Rallis news was like Tina Turner telling Ike to hit me like, again, Ike, and put some stank on it. I'm not familiar with that reference, but I'll take your word for it.
Liar. It's Jim Carrey, and he's pretty much pitching a client, and he does that.
Nice.
Hit me again, Ike, and put some stank on it. But it's also from a horrible true story about Tina Turner's life.
Brian, $2. What's to like about Nick? Can't scheme or develop? It's a great question. And I pointed this out on last night's stream. If you think back to when this team was playing its best football of the last several years, it was during that midpoint of last year, and Nick Rallis was a big point of that, 2024. And they had 3 home games where they didn't give up a touchdown, and the pass rush was good, right? Cornerback, I mean, he was playing a bunch of kids. I mean, I posted this on Twitter today. He gave up 9 points and 13 points to the Rams 2 years ago. I mean, he was great. He was great. And then this year, it was a disaster. So the hope is, Brian, is that he can get back to getting to a point of competency as a top 20 defense. But I'm with you. Like, he has not proven nearly enough. There's no one player, Bob mentioned it last night, it's probably Garrett Williams, who's gone now, as I developed that guy. I mean, there's just, if I'm Monti Ossenfort too, like, wouldn't you want somebody that can come in and have a clean slate with your draft picks? I'm going to tell you right now, we're going to see Monti Ossenfort in 10 days. I will ask him that, because 28 draftable players. I mean, they caught a hitch, a comeback from an offensive guard. That was this defense. It's tough. It's tough pill to swallow.
Libertarian Sasquatch jumping in. This organization has shown its ass this offseason. It's completely dysfunctional top to bottom. NFL should step in and kick Bidwill to the curb. We are 5th largest city in the U.S. We deserve more.
Well said. And there was a really good podcast recently. Can't remember who it was with. A prominent baseball reporter basically saying like the Major League Baseball before this like upcoming potential lockout that they have, like they need like the Pirates to sell. They need all these people that are trying to flip these franchises, sell it to people who will actively try to win, right? I'm not saying Michael Bidwill is the equivalent of the Pittsburgh Pirates, but it is like you see these other franchises, how they operate, and they're so flipping high level. Every fan base deserves that. The amount of time and money and the investment, like, and definitely the people here at Phoenix.
Completely agree. How about Jedi Master Cardinal? It's Evan. I've turned to the light side again, and I'm a bird.
That's a great avatar icon. I'm not sure it's consistent with the lore though, but we'll talk about that off air. No, I'm just kidding. T. Clary, $4.99. Winning cures all. We need to tighten up as an organization. Yeah, they need to get out of. Just stop talking for a while. It's like, why don't you just stop talking for a while? For Anchorman.
Champ.
Yeah. Why don't you just stop talking
breakfast
for a while?
Yeah. Oh man. And you got a 4th place schedule. Like you got to take care of business against some teams that you should be able to beat next year. The roster should be improved through free agency, through draft.
I just think offensive coaches, there's much more room for error. I think the margin for error is bigger. Defensively, like it just never looked right with JG. They never had a dominant defense in 3 years. So Mike, to me, I'm like, if people are like, does this deter your optimism for the season? Not at all. Because the defense was to me right now, it's such an afterthought.
Tank for Manning, scapegoat for next season achieved.
I mean, like Nick can punch his ticket to be back and to be right back in the coaching hierarchy around the NFL, or he could be fired. It's really like, this is the beauty of this, is what Bo just said. It's up to Nick. He's got all the rope. Like, this is your unit this year. Let's see what you can do with it. But if I'm Mike LaFleur, I'm like, let's get a safety net and let's bring somebody as a defensive assistant. I mean, could they get like somebody to give like an Aubrey Pleasant type of role, like defensive assistant head coach, somebody like that? I would be interested in doing that.
Yeah.
Wouldn't you feel completely different if they did that?
Yes, it would put people at ease. And it might just be a title, it might just be a facade, but
right.
it would ease people's skepticism a little bit. Ranger is jumping back in with $10 after his $100. Ranger, thank you so much. Well, at least we don't have to worry about the NFLPA team report cards anymore. There it is. That was that came down today. So an arbitrator was determined that the NFLPA wasn't exactly, doing things by the book as far as how they were getting information and then relaying it in a public forum. So it really feels like the NFLPA grades as we know them, where they're released to the public, are going to go away for a little bit before they kind of get reformed a bit.
They did a lot of good. This team got shamed up and down, paid meals, workout. I mean, the new facility is very much a byproduct of this. So, the
NFLPA will continue to, I think, do some sort of surveying and talking to the players and getting feedback. But man, did that court of public opinion
got roasted.
They did.
I'll never forget.
A lot of organizations did.
I'll never forget Bo and I sitting there at the combine last year, and they're like, we thought probably like bottom 30 in the NFL, and then it's just that 32 dropped, and we were in shock. We were in a state of shock.
Well, they went from 31 to like 27.
Right. We thought they'd keep trending up.
Yeah. And we thought, maybe 25.
I'm going to tell you right now, they would have been 32nd again this year.
I guarantee it. I would have guaranteed it. I think that they would have three-peated as 32nd. I think they would have pulled the Bulls twice, Lakers, I think did it. Yeah.
You didn't skew their number. He got an A last year, and they still finished 32. They would have been last for sure. Hilarious.
Antonio.
Somebody asked, is it good that it's gone? I mean, like, Well, TBD, because like,
No.
does it deter players and stuff like that? Like players know, they hear it from agents.
Right. I think it's I don't think it's a good thing. It's gone.
No, I don't either.
It was a great tool. It was it put organizations' feet to the flames. Antonio jumping in. It's not the hand that you've been dealt. It's how you play the cards that counts. Time to start being positive with this team.
I am positive.
Yeah.
I'm going to tell you right now. I said it like 3 weeks ago. If I had to sign up with Nick Rallis, if I got Mike LaFleur, I would do it. To Bo's point, like when we're comparing it, like from a schematic standpoint, X's and O's, you might like a different coordinator more, but like Nick Rallis is probably, Nick Rallis is still DC. Those other guys, whether they turn down the Cardinals or not, are not DCs yet. So I want to see the Mike LaFleur experience this fall. I'm excited to watch that. I would not have been excited to watch Raheem Morris or Vance Joseph or, God love him, Jonathan Gannon again. I'm excited to watch Mike LaFleur coach this team this year with new players.
Derek, if JG had his fingerprints on the defense more than we thought, that possibly could explain why Rallis is back, giving him a shot to run his own unit.
Well, also, did the team reject Jonathan Gannon in the end? Was there? I know a couple players who didn't, like Josh Sweat. Like, I'm just going to tell you right now, Josh Sweat was very upset that Jonathan Gannon was fired. And I think Rallis coming back will help kind of bridge that gap a little bit. And he was the only person that exceeded expectations outside of Calais last year. But you might, Derek, maybe Nick needs to be truly in charge of his own unit.
How about Dana Bolno, a Red Feather workshop? A complete offense would have helped Rallis. A competent, offense would have helped Rallis immensely. That said, where is the teaching? Where's the guy who wasn't already great, who developed pass rush or coverage beyond his college tape?
Oh, I'll double down, Dana. Like, where's the third down stops? Where are the takeaways, right? Where just the player development to me is the biggest issue. Because, like, 2 first-round D tackles, multiple pass rushers now. Like, I was looking at the stats this morning. It's like Jordan Birch had 1 sack. Baron Browning had 2 sacks. Zaven Collins is just a huge nothing burger of a player right now. It's just like, get these this is just like Victor Dumakagi and those guys all over again. Dennis Gardeck, like, I was looking forward to, and they're probably going to stick around now, just getting rid of those guys and starting over. But, they'll probably be back now.
Hannibal. Only players who developed on defense, I can say, is Garrett Williams, Dante Stills. Rallis' staff has been putrid.
The position coaches were bad. I would like to see a clean slate with position coaches. Because I think schematically Rallis can be good, but like the individual teaching with the position coaches that we have seen has just not been good enough. Nobody has developed. And like Will Johnson, in his case, got worse as the year went on. His technique got bad. So, yeah. Cody Simon is the one player where you feel like he should have he should be poised for a jump this year.
See, Lucas, face it. If an impromptu car wash doesn't raise enough money to hire a respected veteran DC, then it's just not in the cards. Michael Bidwill, probably.
It's frustrating, too, because like they had money to spend on these DCs and they were throwing money at Gus Bradley. It's like, you couldn't have just blown this candidate out of the water that you were trying to court this week. You couldn't have just been like, we're going to make you a really high-paid DC.
Like many of the teams in the NFC West not named the Cardinals, things going pretty well in those spots. It's probably tough to leave for such a wild card.
It's a good point. They're lucky they got Mike LaFleur. I know people will laugh at that. Like they're very lucky he took this job.
Jackson Burgess, what a joke. Rallis sucks. No one in the staff deserves to come back. Always 1 step forward, 2 steps back with the franchise. All momentum gone.
I disagree, but I respect your opinion. And we will pepper this franchise. No more fun time with Johnny and Bo at the combine. Like we're gonna be there to ask questions. Like this offseason's been rough. It's been real rough. They're gonna have to answer for it.
Here's our guy Antonio again. How about how the Cards been operating K1 staying.
Did you see Mike Garafolo's reaction when I'm like, I keep Kyler Murray, and he was like, no, you won't, because you're not gonna.
I mean, the fact that the conversation has reached like it's trade or release. I mean, how is him staying even part of people's debate? It's because, and I understand it to an extent where you just can't let go. Like, I'll accidentally see Kyler Murray highlights, and I'll long for those days and continue to wish for the potential to be tapped into. But I mean, where the Cardinals stand right now, it's not a question of, or it's not a debate of Kyler Murray versus who's available. It's that the Cardinals want to get Kyler Murray's contract off the books this offseason. Sooner rather than later.
They're done with it.
Yeah.
Derek 199. How much cap do they save if Kyler gets cut? Well, they have a $55 million cap hit.
Yeah, but that doesn't mean it's completely all dead. I believe they get a little relief. I think it's around, is it 19? I think they can still add like 19.
Also, like
cap space.
They got a ton of cap space this offseason. They're going to cut a bunch of dead weight. They're going to move off people. They can extend some people, lower cap hits. They're going to spend money. They're going to spend money this offseason. All right, you check that. Brand, $5. So both coordinators came off input from Matt. He is just running two teams. Why can't Mike find his own guys? I think, to Mike Garafolo's point, like, coaches talk more than we think. Certainly, brother. Matt wants to see Mike succeed. And I think that these hires are reflective of that. And, like, fair or not, like, Michael LaFleur has never been a head coach before. I mean, like, he's never done this before. It was why the Cardinals tried to hire Robert Saleh or somebody who's been a head coach before to come in here, because they've got experience building a staff. Mike, this is the first time Mike's done this. But Brandon, here's what I'll tell you: Cliff Kingsbury didn't hire one of his coaches on his staff. Like, Steve Keim had to do his entire staff. So it's not like he can't work. But Nathaniel Hackett has reportedly was instrumental in Matt LaFleur having early success with the Packers. Like, he was a huge person to lean on. And while I did not like that hire at the time, it has grown on me because of what they're going to ask him to do and what they're not going to ask him to do. The defensive side, though, you got all my attention. They got to prove everybody wrong. Like, that defense was a joke at the end last year. It was the biggest joke in the NFL. Like, it was a bigger joke than their offense had become. At least you had Michael Wilson and Trey McBride balling out every week at the end of the year. The defense, I mean, like, every week we'd turn it on and be like, they'd score in like 2 plays. Remember that?
Right.
The Falcons game? I mean, it was a joke.
It was 4 plays. Yeah. So if they do it a pre-June 1st release, they take on nearly $55 million in dead cap.
Which is what we think they're going to do.
Yeah. They don't get any cap savings. They actually are in the whole $2 million. But they would still hold the cap space that they have and create more cap space. If they were to do post June 1st, it would be 47 mil in dead. And this is just released, but save 5 million, and then have just 7 million carried over into 2027. Well, the trade is significant. If you were to trade him, it's only 17, almost 18 million in dead cap. Plus you get, nearly 35 million in cap savings.
Miles, $5. JV betting his mortgage multiple times last night worries me. Get ready to move in with Noah, Johnny. Wow, that would be something.
I think Noah would like you to move in.
He's not lonely.
What the dog doing?
How about the 90s Poppy? Let's take Love at 3 and tackle in the second and go all offense.
You sound like my dad, 90s Poppy. My dad wants this team to take Jeremiah Love and just pound him to the ground and give him 40 carries a game. Like, there's part of me that's just like, F it, let's just have a blast with Jeremiah Love. Like, that would be fun as hell, but it would be grossly irresponsible. But I did watch some of his YouTube highlights the other night, and it's just like, he would be awesome here. He's a star, but they just can't do it.
About Mondo. Somehow Rallis is the new Petzing. I have hope.
No, Drew. There's only one Drew Petzing. He's doing podcasts with like local Detroit podcasters. It's like, Drew, you never wanted to come on our show? Open invite.
I don't know if it was a Drew thing. Brian, DM me the report card. I'll leak it. I don't give an F.
I don't think we're going to get it either.
Yeah.
You know,
talk to players. You'll get a sense.
Yeah. They'll be less though, Brian. We can just
look at this. Look at this awesome $20 super chat from our guy David.
Woo!
Hey, JV
David.
and Bo, I was surprised but happy about Nick Rallis is staying with the Cards.
There you go.
About the hire with a different head coach, I believe Nick Rallis can thrive with leading the defense. Let's go. I doubt he was the third choice.
He was Nick Sirianni's first choice to replace Jonathan Gannon, albeit 3 years ago. So I don't think he would have gotten a defensive coordinator job if the Cardinals had let him go, but he definitely would have gotten interviews and he would have been on Gannon's staff. But let's see what he does. I love when people overcome adversity. I would be a great, as both said, it would be a great story.
Keeping it going. How about Jacob? Are you guys going to interview the coaches next week? The staff would have to be complete. So, I think they want to get all the assistants and position coaches in place. Coordinators were officially announced today. So, even though we heard about Hackett from Zenit's last week and then followed up by the NFL reporters like Garafolo and Rapshi and Pelissaro, it became official today. So did Gabriel, the special teams guy, and then Rallis is being retained. It's possible. I mean, they got the groundbreaking next Thursday, so there could be a couple things in the works for the Cardinals, but then everybody's in Indy the following week. Jacob, we just talked to. How about is this Angie Dimiguarda?
Yeah.
Defense was terrible. 0 pick sixes, only 2 turnovers that turned into a touchdown. I mean, put a look at the Seahawks, and they had 2 in one game on the Cards.
You've been sold a false bill of goods since Gannon and Rallis got here of what that defense did in Philly. 70 sacks and 17 takeaways to what you've gotten in Arizona. I mean, it's been even when they were playing well in 2024, like they weren't taking the ball away. They were doing it with smoke and mirrors. And that's why the Cardinals, rightfully so, were like, okay, we're going to flush you with resources last offseason in form of free agents in the draft. And that's why we all thought, like, a big reason why we thought this team would be great last year was the defense. I remember I looked at old thumbnails and on Twitter last night. It was like all about Cardinals are going to have a top 10 defense. Got to be a top 10 defense. I mean, like, I honestly do believe like the team quit on Jonathan Gannon, which is really unfortunate. Like the team was just like, I'm done. I'm done doing this.
Mo AZ Cards fan, this show excels at providing A+ Cards coverage. So thankful I discovered you guys. Keep it coming. May make the trip for a draft party.
Let's go, Mo.
Do it. You talk to the higher ups. The draft party is in the works. Our guy Espo, our GM, is putting in a lot of time trying to figure out what the best spot for our draft party is going to be and how we're going to roll it out. We'd love to get as many of all you great members of the Cardinals community in one spot. And the third overall pick is going to be a big one for this organization. Love to celebrate it with each and every one of you. So we'll let you know. We expect to have information on that soon. Brian P. Drew Petzing said on a pod, quote, he designs an offense based on the personnel he has. Close quote. I hope he gets stuck at a snowbank on his way home. Rallis versus Petzing 2026.
If Nick Rallis loses to Drew Petzing, he's dead to me.
Drew Petzing said similar things here. He's got a lot of coach speak locked and loaded for his moments in front of the press podcast. It's the way he operates. He's not going to actually kind of divulge, any of his, bag of tricks or whatever you want to call it, any of his tendencies or scheme. Just like he's going to say the things that, a lot of people want to hear in the Detroit media and in the fan base. They just some of them gobbled it up.
He's on a PR tour to try to clean up what Cardinal fans smeared his name in the dirt. Brian's back. $5. Tell us, but we need a win. Announce draft party details. Dibs on premium level tickets. Brian, you're VIP, of course. Everybody here knows that. But we're hoping that the venue, we know we're pretty sure we're going to be doing it with Gila, but we're not sure maybe which casino and which room. We're still figuring that out. Because Bo and I, one of the things we've made a point to say is we're on air for so long, but we want to be with you guys and a part of the experience as well. That is until the Cardinals trade up for Ty Simpson at the back half of the first round. Then I'll have to jump back on air.
Before we wrap things up, this did come out today during the announcements of the coordinators. A quote from Mike LaFleur on retaining Nick Rallis. This is from LaFleur, quote, "Nick is someone I've always had great respect for, especially going against him in the division over the last 3 years. During the interview process, I expressed that he was someone I held high regard and would be very interested in talking to about the position. I've had the chance to meet him and pick his brain over the last couple of weeks, and I'm even more impressed than I was before. I know the respect he has from the coaches around the league, and especially with the players on this team, and that says a lot to me."
I mean, they need each other. They need each other for this to work, and I thought you put it well earlier. I mean, Mike LaFleur's been kicked to the curb by the Jets and needed somebody to pick him up. Nick Rallis has been, I mean, we're still trying to get the full picture, and we will have it at some point of what Nick's been doing and the emotions that he's gone through. But I mean, this is a production-based business, and Nick knows it, and hopefully Mike gets him to a point where they can help each other because they need each other, right? Like there was always a point with Gannon and Nick where it was like, well, they own the same side of the ball. Well, with Mike and Nick, it's legitimately like, hey, I'm the play caller on one side and you're the play caller on the other. Like Gannon didn't call plays. He was the CEO head coach. So, yeah, I hope he's right too, Rocker. I hope you guys have a wonderful weekend. Hit that like button. Knock on wood that your boys don't have to do any emergency podcasts this weekend for the sake of our marriages and our families, Bo.
That's right. We did 6 shows this week. Thank you for everybody that joined us last night. Thank you, everybody that joined us throughout this week. Shows, Cardinals coaching staff getting pretty dang close to being complete. They just made a hire as far as the DB's coach. We added that to the list. I think there's only a couple big key spots open. Of course, follow along PHNX_Cardinals on Twitter, Instagram. We'll give you the latest as far as what's going on with this team. Probably no emergency pod-worthy positions to be hired on, so it would have to come in the form of major roster decisions that could potentially leak their way out this weekend, but not really anticipating that. It's probably combine conversation. When we talk to you on Monday, it's going to be a week away. Can't wait for that. Check out content hitting the YouTube streets this week. Make sure you subscribe to PHNX Sports. And you like this video, do it for our guy Johnny and Noah. They appreciate it, but thank you to everybody. Have a great weekend. We'll talk to you soon right here on PHNX Cardinals.
We all silly like the mayor.